Hello, my name is Molly Fish, for those of you that don't know me, and we all kind of felt led that I should share a little bit tonight, and it may be a lot, but we're here till 9 anyway, so got all the time in the world. So I'm just going to go right into it. Jesus, I pray that the words that I say, God, that you would just be glorified in everything that I say, Lord, and just that they would see you in my story, Jesus, and just that when they're listening, God, that they could relate, and just that they could just solely see you. We thank you, God, for your goodness. I grew up in a Christian home. Some of you know my parents. Very loving parents. We moved a lot, really kind of unstable. I always kind of felt like out of control a little bit. As from a very young age, I was a perfectionist, people pleaser. Any of those in the house? None? Okay, good. I found a lot of my worth in my grades and how I looked, always trying to please people. I put a lot of pressure on myself to reach this standard that it was just unreachable. So every time I would perform anywhere with my music or anything, I would always fail of what I was putting this standard. I always came short of that, and it just crushed me. I started to not feel good enough. We moved to Thailand when I was in 6th grade, and again, just continued with that whole out of control. I just needed something to control. My life felt so crazy. I accepted Jesus when I was a young kid, but I really felt like Jesus didn't want anything to do with me because my faith wasn't like my parents, because they had all this faith, and they didn't seem like they were out of control, and here I am, like, crying in the corners all the time. Like, I needed to get it together, but I couldn't, and I felt like Jesus didn't want anything to do with me because of that. My identity was really lost. At the beginning of my 9th grade year, a couple of my friends and my brother and a dance teacher were pretty verbally harsh to me just about my weight, and would call me big boned and fat, and I believed that lie. And as you guys probably know, Satan feeds you lies through people, through the media, through whoever, whatever, and sometimes we cling to those lies more than the truth, and that's what happened to me. And I believed the lie that I wasn't good enough, that I was fat and I was unworthy of anything. I went to America for a summer when I was 16, and people told me if you go there, you're going to gain more weight. And I was like, thanks, that's exactly what I need to hear as a 16-year-old. I made a pact with myself, and I was like, well, I'm going to come back and show them that I'm not going to gain weight there. And that's when the eating disorder really came in and began to take over my mind and my actions. I lost almost 50 pounds in 3 months. I came back to Thailand, and everybody started complimenting my image. I was like, oh, this is just fueling my desire to be thin. I'm actually good at something now. I can control something. While my whole rest of my life is out of control, I can control this one thing. My identity became wrapped around being a problem eventually. My parents noticed something was wrong, and my mom flew me to America, and I began my first treatment center, diagnosed with bulimia and anorexia, and during that time, at Christmas, my whole family was able to come join me from Thailand, and I felt like this issue. I felt like my sisters hated me because they had to leave their friends in Thailand to come to America to watch me get better. And my body healed at this program, but my mind was in torment. Self-harm became a way for me, sorry, I get a little emotional when I get to this part, but for a way for me to hurt myself, because I felt like such a problem. I didn't know how to handle being that issue. And so I would self-harm to cause pain because I believed I was a problem and I believed I was worthless. We moved to Waynesville after I finished that program, and I just continued to hate myself. I didn't know how to function. I continued in this eating disorder to cycle. The lies, they just gripped my head, and I couldn't see past them. There was one point where I dumped a bunch of anxiety pills into my hand and took them all, and the next thing I remember, I woke up in the hospital, and my mom again was like, something's got to happen. We have to take her somewhere again. And just again fed that lie that, I was a problem. This was who I was. This is just who I was. I couldn't get out of it. So I almost was like living in that, and I couldn't see a way out. And I just decided to stay there because I was like, well, this is who I am. Went to another treatment center and finally got to a stable weight again, just body, my mind was still like so messed up. I didn't have a handle on it. You know, they didn't speak truth at these places. They just wanted to get my body healthy. So I came back home. I tried to live life normally. I got a job at Ingles and a grocery store, and I met my party friends. I finally felt accepted. I felt like I could be approved of and have friends if I did the things that they were doing. And I almost justified it all too, because I started to smoke weed and drink about 3 to 4 times a week and living with my parents, and I was like, well, this helps me eat and it numbs all my feelings and it makes me feel like I don't have these issues anymore, these eating disorder issues, so I'm just, it's fine, it's not a big deal. So I was justifying my behavior. I moved out of the house because my parents didn't let me stay and continue in these destructive patterns with the younger sisters. Totally understandable. I was like, well, I'm out of here, see ya. I met a boy and gave my heart and my body away to him and was just searching for love in the wrong places. I began smoking and drinking daily, abusing pills. I began to sell weed, and then my whole story, my identity is just lost. And it's just, I'm latching on to things as they come to try to find my worth in something. And so I was now, my identity was wrapped around being a drug dealer, a partier. I still believed in Jesus, and I can look back and remember times where I would be high on my mind and all my friends would be over at my house at a party and I'd be jamming worship tunes. And or I would argue with my atheist friends and then I'd go smoke a blunt. I was such a hypocrite, but I believed in Jesus. And now that I look back, I can just see his protection on my life. I never got caught doing what I was doing, selling drugs. I finally came to my end when I slept with my drug dealer and my boyfriend left me. That began a very unhealthy, promiscuous cycle. The love that I was searching to find that only God could give. When my boyfriend left me, things got worse. I became more heavily involved in harder drugs like cocaine and ecstasy, and I remember waking up with my friends sometimes and we would look at each other and we would go, what are we doing? Like, this is hopeless, what are we doing? But we didn't know a way out. And it takes making that step. You have to make the first step, and I just didn't want to, and we didn't want to, so we would just continue on. One day, though, I hit another rock bottom, caused a huge scene at a party, severed a bunch of relationships with my friends, and so I was like, Mom, I need to come home. And she was like, yeah, I know you do. And I applied to Mercy Ministries, which is a 6-month program that just restores hope and transforms lives by the truth of Jesus Christ. And I went there for 6 months, and I began to find freedom from the eating disorder and addictions, and it was so hard. It was great because it allowed me to be sober for this time, and they washed